I've been a good student. How are we doing?
You cool with the red button?
What's the red button?
That means we're on.
Yeah, let's go for it. We on?
Let's go for it. We're on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm like a professional podcaster now. Following
I
in your
know.
footsteps.
I know.
I saw this young, good-looking kid named Travis Mortar, and I want to be just like him. Wrote a book. Did a documentary. Have you seen my documentary?
Yes, you did.
Documentary's
Yes,
out.
you did.
Kings of Summer. You were a part of it, but I did it too quickly. That was a problem.
No, hey, I like speed. I like speed. Well, not enough, and that's why I like you. You do stuff.
Thank you.
You do stuff. Because there's a lot of idea guys.
Yes.
And you do stuff.
I'm a man of action, Travis.
Can you, I didn't even know, I knew that you were working on, you were interviewing people.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, can you, set me up with this guy? Sure. And then, you did it. It just popped out. I didn't realize, what was happening.
So for the last 25 years, every year, I think I mentioned somebody calls me and wants to do a documentary Netflix series. And they never get done. So, but they always tell me this one's going to get done.
Yep.
So the last group was a little bit obnoxious in how they were coming at me. They were coming at me from a lot of corners. So I called a friend. I go, what does it take to do a documentary? And he goes, I'll get back to you. And I go, well, he wouldn't get back to me. He wouldn't get back to me. He goes, no, I'm trying to make it really good. Or I wanted to get you a really good answer. So he comes back. He goes, well, it costs $150,000, but we'll discount it to $80,000. I said, that's not happening. I go, why can't I just take my camera and shoot? I said, Tim Cook of Apple tells me I could do a whole movie with my iPhone. What the hell do I know? So I said, look, I kind of wanted to, and it's not even really a documentary. It's like a video book, I call it.
Yeah.
A video book was based on our book, Kings of Summer.
Yep.
Right, which was awesome, and loved doing that with you. And I just said, hey, we'll just interview the guys, do the same sort of thing in a video format as a different thing, just to say, now I can tell everybody that I've done the documentary, so you don't have to ask me anymore. The documentary on beach volleyball has been done. And it took me 1 month. From the day I said I was going to do it, 1 month later, I published it.
And you just went for it.
Well, I wanted to know why all these people call me about a documentary and it never gets done.
Right.
I mean, I can see why now. Here's a funny story. So I called Travis. I said, yeah, I need Randy Stokos' contact information. He goes, yeah, sure. Here's Randy Stokos' contact. So I called, hey, Randy, do you want to be in this video book? And then OB calls me back. He goes, it's not Randy, it's OB.
That's so funny.
But I'll be in it, yeah. So I go, that is hilarious. I said, well, you'll fit. I'll put you somewhere. He could talk about the 70s beach volleyball. And then he ghosted me.
OB?
Yeah, OB. He goes, I go, let's set it up. He's like, next week, no problem. I'll come up to Manhattan. You ghosted me, OB. I'm never going to forget
That's unlike OB.
Yeah, well, there's a microphone. There's OB.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he texted me this morning because he's doing his 4-man deal. That looks like pretty good.
Well, and an extra bonus for the 4-man deal, because they're having an elite in Newport right before it. A Volleyball World Elite.
It's penciled in, I heard.
Penciled in.
It's penciled. It's far from pencil to pen.
The VBTV crew, as they said, here's the setup. Can you guys commentate? I'll be at Evan Corey's wedding, actually, that weekend. But so the 4-man penciled in version, Tuesday through Saturday for the elite, and then the 4-man on Sunday, which would be a crazy 4-man if they get some of the international guys and women to play.
International big dogs.
Yeah.
You've wanted those international big dogs to come here for a while.
I've wanted it for a long... I mean, I just want the best players to play beach volleyball here.
That'll be wonderful, wouldn't it?
That's what, what I want.
That'll be a change. He said it, by the way, not me. He said that.
I mean, I think at this point...
Wouldn't it be great if the best beach volleyball players played here in Southern California?
It'd be amazing.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. I would love... do you think it would ever happen where the Manhattan Open just became a true open? The city of Manhattan says, if you're a good beach volleyball player, come play in this tournament. Norway's coming. Germany's coming. The Swiss women are coming. The Germans are coming. Brazil's coming. I think it would be unbelievable to have that.
Well, yeah. The problem is that there's such a wide gulf between what everybody wants to do and what's actually possible.
Right.
And then the volleyball community gets in there and just fucks it up. Right? That's the main problem. Yeah, your answer is yeah. The question is why not? Well, all right. So if you want international players to play, you have to get the permission of the FIVB and their governing bodies, and there you go. The players would want to come.
Right.
The tournament would want to be put on, but then somebody would be like, oh, you can't do that. All right, why not? All right, see, that's always the way it is.
Yeah.
So you think, hey, why don't we all work together? Let's have a meeting of the minds. Let's work together. And no, it doesn't, because how many tournaments are there this year?
In what, AVP?
Beach volleyball, yeah. in the United States?
AVP's got 2.
2 tournaments. I was here with you 3 years ago. Remember 3 years ago? What were we talking about 3 years ago? I had a plan. Remember the plan?
I remember the
Did
plan.
they implement the plan?
No.
Yeah.
They did not.
How many tournaments? They went from it's going the wrong direction, I think.
Yeah.
I got a new plan, Trev.
You got a new... Ooh!
You guys
New Kent plan, come on!
I got a new plan. This one, I gave you a general, but this one, here we go. This is the secret. See this? The secret BVB business. Where's the camera? It's an orange, right? Whatever. Secret BVB business plan. And this one, this is the secret BVB note. Take a look at the whole note. What does that say?
Open upon my death, signed, Kent Steffes.
If I die, that is to be opened.
All right.
That has the absolute secret of what to do to make a professional beach volleyball team.
Am I being entrusted with the note, or are we reading it?
No, it's entrusted now at my desk. I'm telling you, Tracy.
Okay.
You and Tracy know where it is.
Yeah.
So if I get hit by a bus, you come find it, and I trust it in you. Actually, you can hold it. Here it is. For all you listening
so
out
funny.
there, it is there. But yeah, so that is that. Hey, but you know what? I'll be back in 3 years, and there'll be 1 tournament, maybe 0 tournaments. What is going on? You tell me, Travis. What's going on out there? Give me your insight. You're all over the place. You got you got the writing, you got the playing, you got the coaching, you got indoor, you got not indoor, girls, boys, guys, international announcing.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. Being a second assistant in college is like the perfect job for me right now, because from January through May, 100% dialed in, Florida State, that's it. Florida State and being dad.
Yeah.
That's it. And then over the summers, we have recruiting to do, but there are certain dead periods. We can't actually work with our own girls, so there's not a whole lot to do with Florida State. So Brooke and Nick are like, yeah, go commentate, because that gives good exposure to the program, and I get to recruit everyone's younger siblings when I'm on the world tour. I'm like, oh, you have a sophomore in high school as your sister. We would love to have her come to Florida State. Yeah. And so it's kind of recruiting and commentating at the same time. And it's cool. Just I get to watch the best players in the world in Ostrava and Stade and Brazil and all that. And then right now I'm in town coaching the U21 men for USA. Mm-hmm. And then I get to, and I did that mostly because I get to learn from other coaches. So Alvaro is the head coach. Right. So I just get to kind of pick his brain and steal stuff from him. The one thing that I don't do like anything at all with is the AVP, because I can't bring myself to watch it. I can't. I want, last year.
You are not alone.
No.
In not watching it.
No, I was with Nick Lucena last year, and we were like, we're going to turn it on. We're going to watch the league. And we watched it for like 12 minutes, and we were like, you want to watch the Georgia-Kentucky football game? Like, let's do that. I want to watch it, because they're all my friends playing, but it just feels weird watching beach volleyball in an arena all the time. Like, it's just not the sport.
No.
To me.
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the crowds and the audience that they're getting sort of mirrors that sort of thinking.
They've made their votes, it seems.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of time before, like, it's called sunk cost, right? So
right.
It's called the sunk cost fallacy. What happens is they get stuck into a plan, and when it's obvious it's not working, you should just end it right then and go in a different direction. But that's not how humans work.
Right.
Humans will keep digging a hole until the sides fall in on them,
and the cost just keeps piling up.
All right, I mean, I could tell you this right now, and I've been predicting these things for 20 years. My predictions are always right. Maybe I'll be wrong once. Maybe someone else will do a documentary. Possible. I've been right 25 years. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm not ever going to be wrong. But these things are so predictable. There is no way they can make money with the business plan they have. I call it the chicken shit sandwich shop. Have you heard this one?
No.
It's called the chicken shit sandwich shop. So if the AVP were selling sandwiches, they'd sell chicken shit sandwiches, and they'd wonder why no one's buying the sandwiches. And when I come around, I go, hey, you guys maybe ought to sell some chicken salad sandwiches, maybe just a chicken sandwich, like Chick-fil-A. That might get you some people to buy your chicken sandwiches. Oh, no, Kent, you're an ass. And then they call me names, right? So I get the name calling. And then I go, well, maybe even a turkey sandwich. And they go, that's a great idea. Kent will sell turkey shit sandwiches. And so if you have a chicken shit sandwich shop, you're never going to sell any chicken sandwiches. Are you? No.
No.
And so, like, it's so predictable. And so they can keep pouring money into these things, and they'll get the same results as they would. So, oh no, we have to go international chicken shit sandwich shops. No, we'll do city versus city league chicken shit sandwich shops. It's just
it's so I went hunting last 2 Novembers ago with my buddy Tyler, and first day we get there, and an elk walks probably 100 yards in front of us, broadside, great shot, but I had a tag for a cow, and he had a tag for a bull. He could have shot it, and he's like, "Nah, I want to wait." And we see a herd, like 100 elk probably, and he's like, "All right, well, let's go explore other areas." And then we couldn't find that herd again for a little while. And so he came up with this saying, not came up with it, but he's like, "You never leave elk to find elk." And I feel like we've left beach volleyball on the natural beaches and natural beauty of whatever the land offers to go find beach volleyball indoors in leagues. And it's odd to me because I think that if you look at beach volleyball as a sport, what does it have that no other sport in the world has? The beaches.
Yeah.
Or natural beauty. Like I look at Stad and they use the natural beauty of the landscape to put on put on a phenomenal tournament. Even Ostrava, where I don't know if you've seen it or
pictures,
been.
Yeah.
So cool. One of the coolest venues I've ever seen. They use the natural beauty of the land to put on a sweet event. But then we go in leagues and we just become every other sport. Whereas we could be the most unique sport in the world in that we're on beaches.
Yeah, so that's why they call it a lifestyle sport in a sense. And that's what surfing has, and that's what like the skiing, some of the skiing sports, the X Games sports have in a sense. Is they have that. I mean, look, the World Surf League was convinced that they were going to put on wave pool competitions. Like they were going to watch surfing in a wave pool. And they're like, no, we're going to build a giant wave pool in downtown Tokyo during the Olympics, and it's going to be big. If you think people are going to watch surfing events not on a surf break, or if you think a lot of people are going to watch beach volleyball not in like what you're talking about around this, then good luck. I mean, pour a bunch of money into it.
Right.
And by the way, that like it hasn't been tried. It's been tried. Like we did it.
Did you ever do the hot winter nights?
Yeah, we did four of them. New York was pretty good. And then the other 3 were terrible, but it didn't work really. We could sell a sponsor. We got like 12,500 in Madison Square Garden, which is good, but it's not good enough for Madison Square Garden because it's an expensive place.
The cost is pretty.
You got to fill the place up.
Yeah.
And we played in George Mason with Washington D.C.
Yeah.
We played in Boston at the Boston Garden. The old one. And we played in Minneapolis or Minnesota, and the 3 other ones not in Madison Square Garden didn't do well. And we played in tennis stadiums during the summer in Cincinnati. We played in Indianapolis in tennis stadiums. We played the World Championships at UCLA in a tennis stadium. And
that was 97, right?
Yeah, 97.
That was like I think that's considered the first legit World Championship.
How dare you? How dare you?
I said
I have a trophy which says I'm a fucking world champion. Randy Stoklos gets really pissed at this because he's got multiple. He's got FIVB World Championships.
Yeah,
Randy Stoklos. Like, now they're not counting it. They gave me this trophy. Yeah, those bastards of the FIVB. It's just whatever. It's the way it is. But your point is, well, all right. So there's a secondary problem. In that, if you are an investor, and I want nothing best but the best for the sport. Right?
Yeah,
I would love it if the tour was just like the '90s. Right, that number of events, that $4.5 million prize money just meant television audiences from 1 to 2 million with an occasional pop to 2 to 5. That's all I care about. That's what the plan does. That's what the plan is supposed to do. All right, I think that internationally, the top player should be making $2 million. United States probably $1 million. You know, second, the United States top team should be making $1 million. Number 2 should be making $600,000. Is it? Yeah. And then the third ranked team should be making $300,000 each. Okay, and then in between there, those are the goals. Those are the metrics you're striving for.
Right.
What does it take? You work back to see how to get there. But I understand an external investor. So if you're going to put capital in, all right. So Alden Capital is a private equity firm, all right, and they invest money into businesses. They are looking for an exit strategy X number of years down the road, and so the business has to be structured in a certain way for them to deliver that to the next owner. All right, so they want to sell to IMG Endeavor, for example, the way UFC did, all right, the way WWE did, all right. So that's what they're looking at, all right, the way that NASCAR might do.
Right.
Okay, and the problem is volleyball world's in the same thing with CVC. All right, the structure is not what is necessary to grow the sport, to build the sport, and to make all the athletes rich and the fans happy. It's meant as a exit strategy down the line. So I understand and I get it. Even that they're fucking up and doing wrong. All right, so they're not. You guys aren't doing that right. Hey, by the way, the capital people, you have to separate the asset from the illusion. All right, I know you didn't go to Stanford Business School like I did, but that's functionally it. If you have a single entity ownership model, which don't always work, they're very hard to do. You have to separate the illusion from the asset. Yes, like NASCAR, Formula One, and actually UFC curates. They fix the fights. Did you know that? That's what you have to do in a single entity ownership model.
UFC did?
They fix the fights, yes. Not the actual contest, but who can compete at the levels. Now we have emails between them all because of the lawsuit that happened.
Right.
We're not gonna let this guy fight unless he does what he wants. What's that movie? That's what the Conn Smythe did. All right, it's the guy who basically created the NHL. Right, he owned the Detroit
the Conn Smythe Trophy. That's where that comes from. Got it.
Yeah, Conn Smythe and Jim. What's the other guy's name? The guy who owned the Detroit Red Wings. He controlled the Blackhawks and the Rangers. Jim Norris, rich guy. He owned International Boxing Association, something like that. So he owned the monopoly of it. Mostly, he controlled it mostly through the mob. That's how he controlled the fighters and the arenas. It's a great history. But they would fix fights, okay? And was it Raging Bull? When they told the guy, like, if you take a dive on this fight.
Oh, the one with Robert De Niro?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
If you take a dive, we'll give you the title fight. Well, he took the dive. They made all the money that he wouldn't give him the title fight. All right? So UFC operates on it. And it's not nefarious. When I say fix the fights, it's not nefarious. Again, they're not – the competitions are real, but it is not an open competition. So you and I cannot start UFC and, if we win – get to the championship. They make you fight here, they make you fight there,
right.
They don't give you a shot till they have you under contract and get ready to go. That's what I mean. So anyway, so it doesn't, if another owner comes in, all right, they're going to have the same problem in what they're facing. All right. The sport probably isn't really a sport. It's not a private equity asset. Again, unless you separate the illusion from the asset, call me. I'll tell you how to do it. But anyway, that's the problem, all right? Because in a sense, there's no... All right, when you talk about... It's called the illusion of sport. And sports are unique in the fact that you have to convince people to care about the outcome, all right? So why do Americans care about football, but they don't care about cricket? But Indians care about cricket and don't care about football.
Right.
All right, it's the illusion that it matters, all right, and that we should care about the outcome. Same with the NBA, all right. Not a lot, and less people do than you'd think, which is why Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune get like 8-9 million viewers, and that's NBA doesn't do that, barely does that. All right, so you have this. You have again the problem with the league and the city versus city, and I don't have a problem with the city versus city or league model. It's I mentioned this in my writing on my Facebook post. It's not a good idea and it's not a bad idea. It's a non-idea. All right, the problem is the competition. All right, people are not convinced that the competition is real. Right, that the teams are battling, that they're fighting. First of all, you have a men's team and a women's team. All right, so let me get this straight. So the Lakers play the first half and the Sparks play the second half, and that's who determines the NBA championship, is absurdly idiotic. All right, so you have a high hurdle to overcome to get people to believe that actually matters or should matter and that they should do it. That's functionally it. All right. So in a sense, when you have a single entity owner, you break the illusion that the sport is real and that it matters. And this was written about in 1980 in the book, Sports Illusion, Sports. I'll think about the name of it. I'll send it to you. You could put it in the comments below this.
Please do.
It's the book, and he wrote about it in the 1980s. He was a reporter for the New York Times.
Okay.
Who was a baseball and a basketball writer. So he did baseball in the summer, basketball, and he just traveling around, seeing it, talking to owners, being involved in sport. He sort of wrote one of the first books about the business of sport, and he sort of categorized. So when you hear things like that, that's really important. Like nobody buys it, right? So the league has a championship, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Is that the thing that every beach volleyball player in the world is dying to win? Will they give their left arm to win that?
No.
So they did a poll on Olympic athletes, and they said if we could give you a pill which will guarantee you'll win an Olympic medal, but you'll be dead at 30, would you take it? And 95% of them said yes.
Oh, what an interesting
Well, yeah,
poll.
it's meaningful for the athletes
Right.
to want to win an Olympic gold medal. Therefore, the people believe, you believe that the Olympics is a championship. Now, not in every sport. So, again, it gets cloudy as the more you talk about it, which is why everyone's like, but Kent, what about hockey? You know, I get it. It's cloudy in a sense.
Right.
But the point is anybody going to take a pill with 100% guaranteed death to win the league championship?
No.
All right. How about the Stanley Cup? How about the Masters? How about the U.S. Open tennis? How about Wimbledon? Right?
Manhattan, you might get a taker or two.
Yeah. They're going to have their best crowds in Manhattan.
Yeah.
They're going to have good crowds. They're going to
sure.
get 350, maybe 400,000 viewers. It'll be CBS. If they crack 500,000, that would be a success. We all want nothing but the success for AVP. I do. All right. I'm just giving them advice, and I'm telling them if you try to sell a chicken shit sandwich, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, I think what's been fun for me to have you're a writing machine. You're
You
prolific.
taught me. He taught me,
You're
everybody.
prolific. Is that I feel like for as long as I've been in the sport, which is not that long, but it's been the sport's been in such dire straits that anyone who wrote or said something bad or criticized, it was like, you're tearing down the sport. But in most people who were in the sport, like me, I played on the AVP, so I never really wanted to say anything bad about it, or I would get banned. It was threatened once or twice.
That was because of me.
Once or
That was
twice.
because of me. Oh, but we forgot the things said in this program are not of the host. They might not even agree with any of them. They're all my thoughts, right? And what is that warning they always give?
It's like
do
that-
not represent the host
Yeah.
of this show, Travis or Sandcast.
It's like when people on Twitter is like, retweets do not equal endorsements. But then you're critical, I don't think in an unfair way. And I think that's important because you would want to have like sort of a red team, point out the problems in this plan and how we could fix it. And that's been a unique voice. And you've built quite a following. I mean, you had 180,000 people view one of your 170,000 people.
Well,
view the other day?
I was trolling the AVP, and I said I'm going to do a video which gets more views than their league match on CW.
And you hit it.
And I hit it, surpassed it, over 180,000 as of now, and growing. It's in my audience is leapt. Something happened, and I used to get thousands of people. This was years ago. Now each of one of my posts does about 20,000, and those are long posts too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to write those?
I almost sit down and I write them just straight out. It's like I found that the less I think about it during the week because of my job, and I usually bang them out on the weekend. They take me about as much time to write as they do to read, because I just sit down, I just start banging out, and I do very little edit. I post it. I usually edit it post. Okay, so after I post it, I'll maybe look at it like in an hour, a couple hours later or a day later, and go through it all, because I want it to be fresh and open, and I just want it to come like I want. You know what? I was kind of when I first started writing, I was in a serial writing phase, like the Tale of Two Cities.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I got on a Hemingway kick, and I just felt like he kind of just.
Well, have you read Kerouac?
No, but yeah, it's like
Kerouac. I mean, it's like you're going through an acid trip with him where he just goes, and it's like it'll be a 2-page long sentence. It's a fun read though, because he just writes. It's just stream of consciousness, but worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, exactly. So if I have a theme, and it's funny, this is what's weird. The longer I write, the more people read it.
Yeah,
you would not think everyone would think the opposite.
Well, I think people are hungry for. There's so much short stuff, everything.
Right.
Everything's
snackable content.
9 second. Yeah. And then people, when you get someone who can engage you in a long form read or a good book or a nice long podcast or whatever, I think people are hungry for that because it's quality.
I think so. Yeah, exactly. So, and you're seeing that a lot more with Substack and stuff like. Yeah, it's really hard to do well on Twitter, right? It's really hard to do well in 60 characters.
Well, even with Twitter, you're seeing threads are becoming huge now.
Yeah, and then they're pushing it onto Substack.
Yeah.
So yeah, people do occasionally want long form content if it's quality,
and it has to be quality.
Well, of course, and yeah. Well, so I think there's an audience. So I estimate, I had Greg Huffstetter on, and he had some really good data on what he thinks the beach volleyball market is. And he estimates the core is probably 50,000 to 100 or 1.2 million, 50,000 to 1.2 million, which sounds about right.
It's a big range.
Well, because it's like, so 50,000 is about how many would watch poke on a YouTube video on the AVP. So, and again, their bounce rates are probably high. So even core, like who's going to watch the entire, YouTube
you watch
video?
a whole 3-setter.
So, so that seems to be the bottom line. And when you get up to above 600,000, 1 million, it's somebody who maybe if I'm around that weekend, I'll watch the Manhattan Beach Open, but I won't, right? So the range is large because there's a big population that will not watch unless it's like the Olympics or something like that, or the Manhattan Beach Open or something like that. So you have to give them a championship. So it's interesting because I've another thing I've done. This is this is what I do in my spare time because my kids are out of the time. Right? How much time you spend with your kids? Imagine them gone. You have all that time to do.
Yeah. Man, there's afternoons I come back and it's just Sports with Austin from 3:30 to bedtime. Yeah. You can make a lot of stuff during that time.
Oh yeah, and my knees suck and my ankles suck. I was singeing. He's like, "You got a problem walking?" I go, "Yeah, I got a." So the activity level's down with me. So I used to be able to hey, by the way, if you want to be a great beach volleyball player, go down to the beach and play for 12 hours a day, which I did for years. We all did that back then.
Yeah.
So my whole life is being active and hiking and biking and working out and stuff like that, and then family, kids, and then I got a lot of time on my hands. So I've been gathering statistics on television ratings. Okay, so it's just been spurging out on it, right? Just every sport, like from women's gymnastics, NCAA, men's gymnastics, NCAA, WNBA games, baseball games, basketball games, golf, the whole thing.
Full spectrum.
Every one of them. I got some good sites and some good things. Formula One, NASCAR, Indy, how they are on a weekend, depends on the channel. So it's a lot of stuff. And what you find is really interesting is with the golf, okay, this weekend. So they have the U.S. Open. It's the premier championship. Now, number one is Masters. That gets the highest ratings.
Yeah.
And I'll talk a little bit about that. But 2 million people watch the U.S. Open on average during the 4 days. Now, if you watch the coverage of NBC, they show the whole thing. It's like 10 hours.
Right.
That's what a real sport looks like.
Yeah.
That's what a real sport being televised looks like. It's not a time buy, all right? So first of all, if you're having a time buy, you have a fake audience, all right? You're boosting your stuff, and it's not real, all right? So anytime you hear time buy, it's fake. It's like a commercial. It's advertorial, right? And also, you're not going to get much revenue on a time buy because you're asking somebody to buy an ad on an ad.
Right.
It's kind of odd. But so it's 2 million for the weekend now. This final Sunday day, which was rain delayed, was 5 million. All right, so what's the difference between 2 million and 5 million? Well, those 3 million people realize that I only want to watch Sunday because I don't want to watch Thursday and Friday and Saturday. And then at the very end, right, the last half hour, 45 minutes, when the championship was coming, it was close, 9 million watched. That's how you get these wide numbers. Right?
Yeah.
So 2 million are the core golf.
Got it. Okay.
5 million are championship wanting to watch. 9 million are just if it's close. Masters was 14 million. 19 million watching Rory come down at the end.
Yeah.
Right? So, in my opinion, the sports fan is far more knowledgeable and knowable than we think. We used to call him the casual fan, and that is so. Whenever you hear someone say casual fan, you know you're talking to an old person who doesn't know what they're talking about. All right? Sports fans know. They know what the championships are. They know what the good matchups are. They know when to watch. They're not fooled. Okay? So, the NBA has gotten 9 million people watching. The playoffs were half that. The games right before the regular season games were sub 2 million, sub 1 million sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of back into what we were talking about with beach volleyball. All right. Everyone goes to the Olympics.
50,000 to 1.2.
That's where you get 50,000, 1.2 million. So 50,000 are going to watch whatever you put out and bitch about it, right? Like they're on all the lists going nuts about, but I still watched it. And 1.2 million is who you could get if you did it correctly. Then, of course, the Olympics booms up because it's the Olympics. But that's why everyone says, why can't we take what happened in the Olympics, for our sport? Well, because it's the frickin' Olympics, right? It's back to that illusion of sport I talked about. Sorry if this is I don't know. This is I dig
can
on this
nerd
stuff.
out on sports business with you all day.
Yeah, we can talk about me.
You kind of got me into it.
Yeah.
I'd never really studied or read up on sports business, and then the more we talked about it, I was like, man, this is fascinating. So I follow a bunch of sports business writers now, and I'm so interested. Like the Lakers selling for $10 billion.
It's crazy,
I
right?
think that stuff is so interesting.
Yeah, it's all pinned on like the carrying fees from
Right.
Without live sports, cable television is done. Like major networks are over without
Yeah,
live
well, I bet.
sports.
Do you think they're sweating with Netflix getting into the live sports game?
It's not going to work because sports when you start to do micropayments, we'll get into that next time.
Yeah.
Because I'll probably have to write a couple posts on it. When you get into micropayments, it doesn't work. So the audience, people watch because it's free. All right. Yes, you pay through your cable, but if instead of turning on CBS, which you have already and you pay for already to watch the U.S. Open golf, are you going to go pay a specific fee to somebody else just to watch golf?
Right.
Is the point. Like they want to transition their audience behind a paywall. That's not always how it works. So I don't think the NBA is sweating. I don't think the NFL is sweating. I don't think first of all, no, you're not going to sweat if you're a major event.
Well, not if you're the league itself, but say if you're a cable network. Are you sweating that Netflix is jumping into the game, that Amazon Prime is jumping into the game, and they're taking some of your games?
Yeah, but Prime is doing NASCAR, right? So if you can get a wide enough audience, that's where the money comes from for the Lakers, right? It comes from the cable companies paying the carrying fees, and then the ESPN deal or whatever it is. Yeah, NBA is the ESPN, and if it just shifts to a different entity, Apple could just pay the. I mean, NBA does 11 billion, 12 billion, and NFL does 24 billion. Like Apple could pay the entire 12 billion.
Yeah. Well, I think
NBA.
Apple's got the MLS.
And look what happened to the ratings. 500,000 people watch their championship game, down from millions.
Yeah.
So you'll lose audience, that's for sure, if it's not free.
Yeah.
But maybe it works for Apple.
Question on so the AVP. I know that.
And again, let me state,
yeah.
I only give these suggestions to help out.
Right.
The only reason I'm saying this or writing those posts is to maybe someone will listen and the sport will grow and you'll make money. Owner of asset, like literally, owner of asset, you'll make money. The players will make money. The fans will love it. If not, I have no stake in it. Anyway,
Right.
Go on.
But the AVP, I think we are both in the agreement that you need a TV deal, a successful TV deal to have a successful sport. But I think it's tough for the AVP right now, given there's not a lot of engagement to get that TV deal. Is it, what would you do? Like if you're in the AVP shoes and you go shop around, NBC says, no, like we're good. We got our sports. Yeah. Bring the secret sauce.
You want the secret business? It's a secret, Travis. You can't tell them that.
Let's crack open the envelope.
Let's see it here. It's right here.
All right, what do we got?
All right, so what you're asking is, the problem is to get from here to there.
Right.
Imagine you want to do the 1990s tour, all right? That would be perfect, right? Wouldn't it? How do you get from here to there is the question.
Bring that mic down just a little.
So, testing.
You can bring it down. Yeah, there you go.
Am I-
There you go. Now you're good. It was just on your forehead.
Hold on, I gotta hold this up here. What do you do with this when I die? Come look for this.
Me and Tracy.
That's right. And here it is. Anyway, all right. The problem with the thinking of the television deal is that you're not incorrect. You're just incomplete.
Okay.
Okay. We had a tour which was 2020 of events that were televised. Okay, that we weren't time buys. So you get a television deal that televises your events so people can watch. All right, as you grow your audience, then you might get money from it. But if you rely on your television audience economically to fund the whole thing, you will fail. All right, the Masters does not need television. The U.S. Open golf does not need television. All right, the sports don't necessarily need it. All right, because their economic models are not dependent on it per se. All right, so it's like cable companies need the NFL more than the NFL needs them. I mean, that's clear.
Right.
So when you say that, it's getting the players from here to there too. Because imagine I get it. You're a 35-year-old guy. You don't care about Ken's plan to make the tour great in 5 years or 6 years or maybe 4 years.
Right.
That was what happened back when it was so big back in the 90s. Some of the older guys were like, I don't got many years left. I want to cash out now.
Right.
So you got a lot of interest going on. I get that, but if you were to put on a tour of 20 events and just have prize money and the players play and you go to a television company and say, would you televise us? Every one of our events was televised at 7 p.m. on Sunday, right? Before they knew that was the hot spot in sports, before Sunday Night Football took it over. And they televised us and they paid us. And so everyone knew. And then we messed with it by going with NBC because we took, we went for the gold ring.
Right.
And they promised us the moon, and they promised our executives NFL jobs, literally. Like, they're literally like, hey, screw over the AVP players, and we'll hook you up on the NFL side.
Yeah.
It's really crazy like that. But so, yes, of course you need a television deal, but you also have to have 20 tournaments or whatever number of tournaments to televise. You have to have a tour. You have to have something that, and yeah, you're going to get the $2 million. All right, by the way, and golf is the same thing. It's about $2 million for their regular tournaments. They usually get sometimes 3 to 4 for their signature series events. They get elevated for the Masters, and that's your point. So you have a tour, and you're not expecting big crowds for the majority of them, but you get bigger audiences for your majors or for your Manhattan Open.
Yeah.
Okay. So unless you have inventory, so the AVP has no inventory really. There's no inventory in which to televise. So it's kind of horse and cart.
Right.
You with me?
You wouldn't consider the 8 league stops in inventory?
Well, they have them on CBSSN, which you have to have them all on CBSSN. So it's a limited inventory, but it's an exhibition. They're not actual real sporting events. So an exhibition is going to get a smaller crowd than an actual sporting event. And then a championship will get a larger crowd than a regular sporting event.
Yeah.
Okay? So to the extent that you can put more real tournaments out there, you'll have a larger audience.
What about VBTV?
What about it?
What do you think about it?
Because it's bleeding different. Money. They're bleeding money, right?
And that I don't know. Because when they came out, because the FIVB releases their financials on their website every year, but I never know. It's like 300 pages, so they're a beast to read, and I never know how much the books are being cooked versus being legitimate, because they were reporting, I think, their first year, 2 years ago, was like a $24 million profit. Not just from VBTV, that was from everything. 35% of the revenue was from hosting fees. But I don't know, just VBTV as a concept, just having a streaming platform that you own the rights to, and then they shop it out. So in Ostrava, they sold the rights to their product to the local TV station in the Czech Republic, and they'll do that in Brazil a lot. I don't know. I was just curious. It's different.
Yeah, well, I heard it's not working, and if it was working and they had good numbers, they'd tell us. So they give us the old impressions, which is bullshit numbers.
Yeah.
So if they had good subscriptions numbers, they tell us. And I heard it's not good. But the problem is, in that case, is you are putting the business before the sport. Okay, it doesn't work that way. So they're running the volleyball TV as a business, not as it relates to the sport. Okay, so they want a recurring revenue model, which is what everybody wants, but that only works in monopoly situations and when the demand is there. Okay, so you can only demand that kind of monopoly rent if you are a monopolist, and monopolist is never good. All right, kind of works internationally, and that's how the international models work. It's a single entity ownership model, FIVB, which are difficult to do. Okay, so they've spread the beach volleyball tournaments over an entire year in order to maintain this your recurring revenue, your monthly payment. Okay, so they're more interested in the monthly payment than in the actual competition. All right. If you were to have tournaments like they had, look, it isn't like any of these suggestions I'm giving you weren't successful in the past. It wasn't like the FIVB never had a successful tour.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like there weren't 20 events with $8.5 million in prize money at one point. It wasn't like there was like tens of thousands of people showing up to these things. So it's not like, Ken, volleyball's never been popular in the United States either. Well, it was. It was right. At one point, and it was done differently. So if they were to focus on the competition in the event, all right, rather than having it stuck through this economic model that I keep talking about, and the reason they have to have the economic model is because they want to sell the thing. All right, they're not interested in the sport or the growth of the sport like I am. I don't care if I make $1. I would like to see the sport bigger and better, just because I spent a lot of my life playing it when I was young. I just care about it. Like I care about a lot of things. I care about my school, doing well. I care about my church doing well. Right? I care about my family. Like there's a lot of people that like to do things, not because there is a personal benefit to them. Now, that's not the case with volleyball TV. Like CVC did not put X hundred millions of dollars into it because it was a gift. Right. They expect to get that back and more. Right. Okay, it's not a charity. All right, Alden Capital is not a charity. All right, if not, hey, I'd like a free turkey if you're handing them out for this Christmas. You got a turkey free, handing out free turkeys, Alden Capital, okay? And that's fine. They're economic actors trying to make money, all right? So when you have an investor, like it's the same thing, you have an investor, they have to have an economic model with the goal in the end of selling it, all right? And then when the moment you impact the actual sport competition, you have violated the illusion. It's a simple thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. And now you just saw the Vienna. Like the Vienna tournament promoter is one of the most oldest promoters in the yeah. And he's not doing it anymore. So they've made it uneconomical to put on events because you have to have a rights fee. You have to use volleyball TV. They pay you? Does volleyball TV pay? Pay the promoter to put on an event?
No. I don't think so.
Was that how it works in the NFL, in the NBA? They pay? The teams pay? Is that how it works, Travis?
No.
Wow. Wait, you mean volleyball TV's taking the money? They're not paying the promoter to put on the event? Oh, no. Wow.
And then
it's the same thing with the USFL and XFL. Failed. I predicted it. UFL is going to fail. It's the same thing with Live Golf. It's the same thing with PLL, PVA, or PVF, right? Professional Volleyball Federation.
Is PLL... Are they going down?
They will. I mean, he's got a lot of sponsors backing him, but their economic model's a failure. They don't have an audience. Okay, so if you have a chicken sandwich shop and no one buys your sandwiches, you're gonna have trouble. So yeah, they're all gonna fail because it's predictable because as you can see, the requirement of the economic actor violates the illusion, and then you have no sport. All right, it's not real. And therefore, the only people that are going to care are super core mavens, right? Again, like, how many people showed up in Miami? Like, the question isn't why don't they get crowds. The question is why would anybody go? Why would anybody go? Why did 800 people go to Miami? Like, that's what's bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, why would 140,000 people watch it? That's weird to me. Although I don't think they do. I think that's just people who left their TV on.
Yeah.
Right. The number of people who fall asleep in front of the TV and nap, hundreds of thousands.
It's crazy the power of a good lead-in.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's when you were playing, you were led in by the NFL a lot of times, right? Or not NFL.
When they were suckering us, yeah. That's what they got. That's when we got the $5 million. Then they put us behind track and field, and we died. But that's a television model, and it's not. There's nothing nefarious. Okay, so if you remember back in the must-see TV days with Friends and Seinfeld, right. So Friends was at 8 and Seinfeld was at 9. It was the 8:30 and the 9:30. They would put shows in there, try to grow an audience, and they'd wheel them out. Frasier then went to Tuesday, so he was Thursday after. Whichever one, maybe after Seinfeld, then they moved him to Tuesday. And the question is, can you hold your audience? He did. Others didn't. So they test other shows between the biggies, and they wheel them out. So
Interesting.
They gave us the lead-in of the football to see whether we could take that crowd to Saturday morning, okay, rather than Sunday afternoon. And we failed to generate an audience. I wrote about this. They took our Manhattan Beach Open, our premier event, and rather than having the finals on Sunday afternoon, which is what its tradition was, they put it on 11:30 Saturday, so no fans showed up, and we didn't have an audience. All right? And boom, they should have reversed course right away, gone back to the prime tickets, hot summer nights model. Again, right? So we had hot summer nights. They promoted the crap out of us.
Right.
Because they knew they would have 25 events during the summer. And everybody knew too.
Right. So under the Kent Steffes business plan, I just want to, the OG. So the sport, I've learned
going back to the old rules too?
I've learned.
Should we get to that? Should we go old school rules?
I don't know if anybody's in for the rules discussions are so funny. The no doubles thing fire people up. But you kind of opened my eyes. I've learned a lot from you as far as sports business and just life in general. Mm-hmm. PGA Tour is a nonprofit.
Absolutely.
NFL is a nonprofit. MLB, PGA. Well, PGA is kind of making their own for-profit wing now, but I never realized that, and it changes a lot once you see it. That you can't buy and then sell a sport, and I think that I know with the players, there's like some hesitation with CVC because they're like, well, they own us, and they could just sell it, and we don't know. It's a pretty murky future. But in your business model, it's a 501c6, I think, is the actual nonprofit that a sports league operates under.
Yep.
And then you would just have like local organizing committees, which they have on Volleyball World, and they would kind of own their own event in a way.
You can own an event.
Put it on.
You can own an event,
but
can't
not the
own
league, not the sport.
Whenever you have this belief, where the illusion is, all right, must not be owned by a single entity. All right, that's it, functionally. So it has worked. Formula One and NASCAR, single entity ownership, but those are motorsports, and they have a Concord, and they have the charter agreements. That's how they separate the asset from the illusion. All right, the other one is UFC. All right, which operates under, it's complicated because boxing is overregulated. So they died and they didn't put UFC under the regulations. They're unregulated monopoly. And I said fix the fights. It's technically called curate. So you curate. So you either have to have a charter agreement or you have to curate the athletes if you have a single entity ownership model. Other than that, they have not worked. MLS is a hybrid single entity ownership model, partially, nonprofit. We will see whether that will be successful. That will be the first one. These are just facts. Okay, these are facts that everybody sits there and goes, well, why does the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, and MLB successful? Well, one of the reasons is their structure. Right? They're all structured the same way, and it's not like there weren't 100 football leagues, professional football leagues. It's not like the USFL and the XFL are trying. All right, to do it. All right, so here's the situation, right? The NFL is the worst structure of all time because there's 32 owners who could never agree to anything and blah, blah, blah. The MLB is horrible because the big market teams, what you need to do is revenue, do the revenue like the NFL and not like, if you were going to start a professional league, if you were going to start the NFL, you'd be like, let's not have 32 individual owners, all own the whole league, and instead of $10 billion, well, NBA, right? Instead of the Laker owner, that genie bus getting $10 billion, 10 times 30 teams, I'd make $300 billion if I own the whole thing, right? And that's the thinking. So they come into it, again, backwards. They come into thinking, like, how am I going to sell this thing, right? The reason why those sports are successful is, one, they're nonprofit and they're distributed their models. Okay, the PGA is not only a nonprofit, the actual golf tournaments are distributed and owned by, there's probably like 15, 20 main tournament, maybe 15, right? Signature.
15 biggies, yeah.
Right? Like tennis is surprisingly like 9 events plus 4 majors,
right?
In the ATP Championship. Those 9 events are individually owned, like the one in the desert.
Oh, man. Indian Wells.
Indian Wells is owned by the Oracle guy, all right? And the one in Cincinnati is Great Western, and so whatever, it's an insurance company.
Yeah.
And the Miami one used to be the Lipton. I think it's Hard Rock. I don't know, whatever. But all the individual events are kind of separate. It is a distributed ownership model, right? So if you and I were going to start a golf tour, so what Live goes is we'll just own the whole thing,
right?
And we'll buy players and we'll put on golf tournaments, and they've lost $2 to $5 billion. It's not even a close.
Where do you think they go? Man, I'm looking at that like. That's so much red. That's a lot of red.
They had like 90,000 people watch. So by the way, AVP, you're doing better than Live Golf in the ratings.
Yeah,
98,000.
Those ratings for Live, it's astonishing because they're pretty good golfers.
Yeah, but they're not playing golf. So
right.
What's your point?
Yeah,
like
there's no stakes.
By the way, the TGL, the indoor hitting the screen did it. Their best was $1 million with Tiger.
Yeah, and I think TGL. What I liked about that was that it knew what it was. Mm-hmm. It wasn't trying to be a replacement. It was kind of like what Hot Winter Nights used to be over the winter. They'd go to little beach volleyball bars in Cincinnati and Indiana, Salt Lake, whatever. They weren't trying to replace the tour. It was just, let's just keep playing. And I like that all those guys, they were like, this isn't a replacement for the PGA. It's something fun to do. And it understood what it was within the ecosystem of the sport.
Yeah. But it would also cost $50 million to build the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's they got to make it's going to be difficult to monetize is the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what the business model is now is raising money. Okay, so it's bankers who if you raise money and you convince them that these models will work, which is what's happening, is you can make a fortune getting people to lose money on sports right now.
Right.
I mean, I heard the ownership family and PVF wants out bad, but they don't want to get crammed down. And it's like, okay, well, you just dropped tens of millions of dollars into nothing. It's not a viable model.
Is PVF is a single entity ownership, and then you got
I don't know
You have
specifically,
teams.
but it is
Okay.
it is owned by a single entity. The teams have some. It's not the same as the NFL and the NBA which you actually own your own team.
Yeah.
Like you have the right to exist in the league. It's not the same thing, and that's the distinction. So there is an entity, which is I think the Voss family.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think it's the DeVos family that makes the decision, right? So, by the way, who decided to change the rules from 21 to 15? They didn't ask me on my permission. You didn't ask my permission. You need to get my permission to change the rules. Did you not know that? One of the reasons why you guys are doing bad because you didn't get my permission to change this. FIVB2. Like, seriously, like you just changed the rules? What is kind of a sport
Man,
is that?
The
but
FIV
can't they always change the rules?
I don't think that the doubles is going to make it. I don't think that's going to last. The players are not happy about it.
What?
Actually,
What?
the new doubles rule. Is that
No,
what you're talking about with the FIVB?
no. I'm talking
about,
about I'm talking about the structure of a sport, the illusion of a sport. Doesn't matter. How do you come to the decision that you're changing a rule?
Yeah.
What is the process? Okay, back in the NFL days, Al Davis would say, "We're going to the NFL meetings, and the first 2 days they're going to talk about all the rule changes they're going to make, and the third day I'm going to say no to all of them because then the rules aren't going to change." Okay.
Yeah.
So the problem is again the process. Who decided to change the rules? A person. What? They didn't ask me. They need my permission. If you don't get my permission, it's going to fail. By the way, I am not unserious. When I say the illusion of sport, like there has to be like, how do golf rules change? First of all, how many different golf rule entities are there?
You got the Royal and Ancient,
Uh-huh.
PGA,
Uh-huh.
USGA.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Live, I guess now. But
Nah, don't count them like a
okay.
real like Masters.
Those are the
Masters.
three- Masters is its own thing?
Masters. They claim the right to
Yeah.
if they want to, right?
So you got those the big four right there.
And and to get a rule right, so that it's a very complicated process to change a rule in a real sport, not just like let's play at 15.
Right.
What the hell just happened?
Right.
What the hell happened to the sport? Like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go to metal bats, and then we're gonna go back to wood bats, and then metal bat. Like,
Well, here's a sport that you love, softball.
Mm-hmm.
I read a great story because Florida State, great softball school.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go Noles. I don't know when it happened, but there was no runs. It was pretty dead in terms of run production, and so they moved the mound back and changed the color and the size of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And correlation, causation, whatever. The ratings for softball have been through the moon.
$2.5 million at the championship. Yep, three days.
That's a great number.
great number. Yeah,
I think there's space for rules changes, but it's how it's done.
of course. Look, the 24-second clock in the NBA and the 3-point line had a dramatic impact.
Right.
Some of the rules around defensive backs covering receivers in the NFL, and that's always the excuse they give us. I was on the AVP board. Well, NFL changed the rules. I go, they didn't change the fucking scoring, right? From like, oh, if you stop the offense, you get 7 points. Like, trust me, I've been in these. That was 30 years ago. Okay, no shit. Like. The pitch clock in baseball was a function of the fact that they were taking too long in between plays.
Yeah.
Same with tennis. That didn't change the fundamental nature. Look, changing from wood bats to metal bats, that would be a big change. Right? They're talking about like having like in the ninth inning, like a home run counts for 2 runs.
Yeah.
Right. See, that's different than like a pitch clock or some of the other stuff. Like football. Football is like, okay, so you open up the offense a little bit, fine. Like again, yes, that's again when I say it's fuzzy, part of my work. And part of what I write is I recognize that nobody's actually systematically sort of looked in this and started writing it down. Right? There's no body of knowledge. My family's background is slightly academic. My dad was an academic, and then he got called out to Los Angeles because of the defense industry, because of the Vietnam War and the Cold War. Right? And my uncle was a professor at Harvard. Like I have that academic background, and trying to systematize this sort of thinking. When I say structure, stability, platform, scalability, like try to put these things in there. I get it. That rules get changed. It's the process of how the rules get changed. What you see in the sports that are successful is they do it the same. And the sports that are unsuccessful have a different model of changing rules. So yeah, your softball example is great. They moved back 3 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a great sport, by the way. It's my number 3 sport.
It's awesome.
Basketball, football, women's, college softball is the best. So yes. Okay. Like here's a rule. Here's a rule change in volleyball, right? The people are hugging in between points, which looks lame. All right, and it's pretty dumb. Well, I was sitting with St. John, And I go, well, Hagen, why don't you tell them why they do that? And he goes, well, because they don't start the clock in between points till after the hug's done. So if you delay the hug, you have more time to rest.
Yep.
And she's like, I'm going to call the FBA, have that rule changed. Okay? So when the athletes start screwing around with the game and the rules, yes, you sometimes have to make a change.
Yeah.
All right, but look, wholesale changes in rules, plus it also, then you lose the continuity. I mean, what do you got? What fucking Barnett's out there telling me who the best beach volleyball player is? That dumb indoor nerd. What the fuck does he? What the fuck do you know, Barnett?
I love Barnett.
Just kidding. Yeah, of course. But how could you compare? They're different games, and it's like, all right. So I say this: there's three different beach volleyballs. All right, they're completely different sports, in my opinion. As an expert in beach volleyball, I'm an expert in beach volleyball.
You are.
You're getting there too, Trey. I think you're there. When I first met you, those men.
Wasn't there yet.
Yeah, you were there.
I'm not there. I'm still not there.
You're good. You're good enough. All right. I view these three different beach volleyballs the same way I view the difference between indoor and beach. Like back in the day, when I first started, when I was a kid, there wasn't much difference between indoor and beach. They were the same guys.
Yeah.
Ish. All right. They started to break apart. All right. But there's three different eras of the sport, three different sports. So I call it beach volleyball original, beach volleyball popular, and beach volleyball Olympic. All right. And the first one is the rule set they used in the 1970s, 60s, and 70s, right? The all day long, 10, 12-hour beach volleyball matches. And, 2 out of 3 to 11, like no blocking over, like all those rule sets. Then they switched it to BVB popular, which is what I played in the 80s and the 90s. That seemed to be the most popular of the rule sets, but it was a different game. And it required different athletes. Now we have the Olympic rule set. It's a whole different game with different size athletes, different requirements on the athlete, right? So you take a sport like running, and you have like a marathon, you have a 10K, and then you have like a 1,500 meter. They're different sports,
right?
And that's how I view beach volleyball and the rule sets. So when I tell it's whatever the athletes want to play under, right? Whatever the athletes want to play under, what rule set, I'll tell you which one I think is more popular. I think the original was even more popular than the Olympics version of the rule set. So that's another thing. And what it gets into is, and we don't even have to get into it, but it has to do with the plyometric creatine pathway system, okay? So it's the difference. The beach volleyball popular was basically a set of 150-yard sprints. Okay, so there's a difference between running a 5K and running 150 meters.
Right.
All right, at as fast as you can. Right. It's a different creatine sort of like it's a pathway. It's a different way the body gets stressed. So the reason why the athletes in our era were cramping and they had to have bags and were going to the Whitmobile was because you're pushing the athletes in a very, very specific, like physical manner, all right? That is compelling for people to watch. They wanted to watch people die or almost die, all right? They wanted to see who could last, right? In a sense, and that's kind of the same thing. The 100-meter dash. We want to see who the fastest mammal is, okay? Human mammal, right? Why 100 meters? Why not 75? Why not 125? That's what volleyball do. Like, let's do 70 yards. It's 72 and a half. That's what they'd argue about. Like, why 100? Okay. Why is the track at a certain size it is?
Right.
These things are not like just random. All right. They have a fundamental basis of it in human biology, like the NBA. Okay. Those guys are on the verge of damaging themselves almost every time they play. They have to push themselves so hard to the point where Brunson is not a good basketball player because he's negative because he can't play defense. So if you loaf on defense, you could throw up 40 points on the other side,
right?
But your team loses. So it doesn't matter if you score 100 points if your team gives up 120 points. So we have data on this that we know who the guys are that are scoring and not playing defense. He's a defensive liability, which is why the Knicks will never win. Okay, I mean it's a matter of numbers, and he's a great athlete. I'm not saying that. All right, but in the modern NBA, you can't not play defense. One guy can't not play defense. You'll get smoked.
Right.
Right, and it's sort of the same. So you have in playing defense is hard, and it's tiring. And the more tired you get in the defensive end, the harder it is to score on the offensive end, and that's why guys are loafing. All right, football is the same way. It's a game of violence, all right, in which you're putting your life or your health on the line every single time. That's what's compelling about watching sports. All right, golf is hilarious because like these guys are on the verge of like losing it all the time. Have you ever noticed that? Like they're
just mentally.
They were throwing their clubs.
Yeah, you're gonna crack, especially U.S. Open. Wyndham Clark got banned from Oakmont.
They were going. See, you would think, hey, I thought this was a country club sport. These are all gentlemen.
Yeah.
They're losing their minds out there. Like there's something that happens within the human mind when it plays golf that just drives somebody insane. Okay, like you know what the funny thing about baseball is? Like they're out, they're kind of cruising around and they look all cool. And then for some reason they'll take a bat and start whacking the Gatorade cooler or the fucking fan, and they go nuts in the dugout. You're like, what the hell just happened? Well, what I'm telling you, people, is something's going on in the mind of the athlete. I know what it is, but it has to do with the cerebellum. But that's a different story. But that is what is compelling to watch. That's why people watch, right? They want to see human excellence. They want to see human beings stressed. Okay, so I talked to a lot of athletes, specifically about mental strength and winning and the mindset of winning, and they tell me, they're like, Ken, oh my God, this and this. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Like, really? Like, yeah, that's the same thing I had. Were you nervous? Yeah, that your body. That's the point of sport.
Right.
The point of sport is to make you like nervous, like fearful. All right, scared, like all these things, like angry, upset, lose your mind. That's how they're designed. That's the way they're designed. That's what makes them interesting. So when these athletes come to us and they say, God, what was the one? She was like, I can't remember what she said. It was so funny. She goes, I feel like somebody has unscrewed the top of my head and is pouring the most vile liquid into my brain. Because what you have to do is you have to get them to talk about their emotions. So how are you feeling? Really, you get the emotion wheel out, and then you tell them like, how are you experiencing the game? What are you experiencing during the game? Well, what I'm experiencing in the game is my head being unscrewed and liquid being poured into my brain. Okay, that's how athletes talk. When you get them to a place where you can have a conversation with them, and you're like, guess what? Totally normal. They're like, what? Totally normal.
Yeah.
You know, anxiety, your body's number one motivational tool. Right, your body is purposely making you anxious so that you fire up. You need the emotion that comes from anxiety and fear in an athletic contest. So if athletes are out there feeling that, totally normal.
It's a good thing.
You want to ramp it.
Yeah.
You want to get more. Like, you know. So in the baseball example, the part of the brain which helps you hit is also the part which is antisocial. Okay. So as you're developing your baseball swing, you're hitting when you are developing hitting a baseball, you are also developing antisocial behavior, which is why Ted Williams was antisocial. Ty Cobb is antisocial. Barry Bonds had some problems. You know, a lot of these players have some problems. A lot of them hide it.
It's fascinating.
A lot of them, yes, okay. So when you start talking to these athletes and getting in their heads, you know, so when you talk about golfers, for example, okay, they're fearless. All right, the main quality of a golfer is they're just like, they don't care if they hit it in the trees. They're gonna get it out anyway.
Right.
I want to show them how good I am.
Rory's gonna draw that 7-iron around the bend. At the Masters.
Right. You know what? Those guys are scared to go in the trees because they're not good with me. You lose that fearlessness as a golfer, which is why you see them decline and they can't. You know, right when you're putting. You can take the direct line, which if you miss, you're hosed. So you got to go for it, right? Versus like, I'll try to put it close. Like if you're a golfer who's thinking of putting it close, you're never going to be a golfer. Yeah, you got to be thinking I'm going in the hole every time. Okay,
JJ.
So, yeah,
68-footer canned for the US
That was
Open.
unbelievable. I jumped off my couch.
I've never seen anything like that.
Do you know what he talked about? He talked about how they train that they do $100 shots. So he goes in all his practices, like all with the guys on the tour, they go like 50, 60 feet away and go, anybody can make this putt. It's a $100 putt. And he goes right before the putt, he goes, this is just a $100 putt. I'm going to make this thing.
I love that.
Drilled it.
I love that.
So anyway, like I don't even know what my point was. My point was that. Back to the rule sets is that and Tri Bourne speaks quite vocally about he thinks that fans want to see the athletes
fresh and not tired.
I would call sprinting.
Yeah,
maybe not. Okay, and certainly there could be. The question is, my question is a question. I call it popular because that's what I play, and I'm pumping the '90s. The question is whether or not you can make this current rule set popular. Okay, does it have these things I'm talking about? These stresses on the human body, these ways the body, the human athlete, gets pushed to make it compelling enough to watch. All right, is the question, and it's maybe. So, are they doing it wrong? Do they have a less popular rule set as well? They have a bad TV. Like, look, they're firing on all the wrong cylinders. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I get. Try's line of thinking that you want to see Oh, you want to see Usain Bolt run the fastest 100-meter sprint possible. But I don't think that's the right. I don't think that's what people want in beach volleyball. I think they want long days at the beach, and I think they want to see, like if you're a huge Taylor Crabb fan, and you only have 32 minutes to watch him play, you're probably not going to drive down from Santa Cruz to the Huntington Beach Open to watch him play one match. You want 3 or 4 cracks to watch him play. That's my thinking, and I'm with you. And I've hemmed and hawed on it a while, and I think that because we get a lot, like with the podcast, we are like the uber beach volleyball fans. That's who our audience is. Like they are dedicated, and that's what they seem to want. Long days at the beach, tournaments from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., summer solstice. Let's get out there and watch, and let's see who can kind of survive.
They want to see athletes compete against each other. They want to see them struggle. They want to see them try. But I will just give you just one little caveat to that. To the tri-borns out there, if they ask me, Kent, write a business plan to make the sprint beach volleyball work, I could probably do it, but they would have to want to do it too. You know what I'm saying? So it's possible that what tri-born wants could happen again. It's what I came back when I sat on your couch before. What do the players want? Like it's their sport. They're playing. Yeah, I'm not playing anymore. You know, so
I think it depends on the player you ask. For me, my strength was endurance. I was better on my 6th match of the day than I was on my 2nd, and most people got worse as the day went on.
Yeah, Barnett, those big nerds couldn't last that long. They all died. They all melted.
I was the CBVA king.
They melted. Yeah.
I won, I think, my last 5 CBVAs because you just play all day, and it was built for endurance athletes.
Plus, the court was gigantic. Hit it where they ain't was even easier back then.
Man, I remember talking to you, and you were like, you could land a fucking helicopter in the high line. I was dying.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, just get there, hit it where they ain't. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Back and without I played without the antennas at one point too.
Yeah.
So you were way out on the end, and that doesn't matter. You could be a 10-foot blocker. There's plenty of courts still left over, not just shoot it over the head.
Right. But you ask an athlete like Try, who's had more health issues than he can probably keep up with. He's like, give me the 3 sets to 15, please. Because I don't think like an athlete or an older athlete like a Try or even a Phil who's pushing 40, might be 40, would be in for like the 4 matches a day. So I don't know. I'd be interested.
God forbid, yeah. Oh, yeah,
I'd be interested to see what the athletes would think.
Well, again, you could again. I think the rule set we played under is the most popular form of the sport. I think the original was the second most. I think the Olympics is the most challenging one to make work. And if that's what the sport wants to do, if that's what the athletes want to do, I would get behind that as well. You probably still got to be on the beaches, right? You still probably got to have more events. You still got to have a more consistent, television broadcasting schedule so that you can get some interest going.
Yeah.
You have to get some local people helping generate the interest in the local events. You got to have that model correct.
I was really impressed with Ostrava. It's cool for me traveling to all the elites because those are all the events that are sort of annuals, where Ostrava, same weekend every year for the last 8 years now. And it's run by a local organizing committee. And everything was dialed. And the venue fit 6,000. And so it was a center court that seated 3, sold out every day. From the qualifier on, it was awesome. And then they had a side court, really cool, just sort of natural seating wherever you could stand. But then they had this little grassy quad area with food trucks and little beer trucks and everything that was packed. And you had little sponsor activations, and they had the shuttles to the airport, like the player. It was dialed. And then the Stads, all the Brazil events that they go to every year. Every event that's run by an LOC that's been an annual one, it's been really well done. I've been impressed. I was really impressed with Ostrava.
Well, back in the 90s, when I played Grand Haven, Michigan, someone would pick you up in a car from the airport, take you to a best hotel in the area.
Shout out Scott Vanderwerp.
There was a nice little party on Saturday, barbecue on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And the food was great, and there was a full stadium, and exactly. Exactly. Like, it's very possible. It's more challenging in the United States than in Europe, because they have the what's called the right to sport in those countries. So the locals have to help out in terms of putting on, especially Olympic events. That is not the case in the United States. So you have to make sure you deliver a benefit to the beach communities. But yeah, Again, well, ready? You can't. It's probably difficult to sell that tournament, right? If you're thinking as an economic actor outside an investor.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's your problem.
But I was impressed. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I'm really curious on your thoughts. Because I like to check things with you, because you'll tell me when I'm wrong.
No problem with that.
Is the Olympics, like, I don't know if it's a causation, a correlation, but you look at 96, sport was going up, have the Olympics, every match in Atlanta sold out, good television ratings, and the sport just, shit hit the fan. Like, is the Olympics one of the worst things that's ever happened to beach volleyball?
Well, yes and no, okay? It was the best thing to happen to beach volleyball because it really put us on the map as a legitimate sport. It was the worst thing because it attracted people that now wanted to screw us up. Okay?
Got it.
So they attracted the parasites. So my current post today is, the sport has to be idiot and parasite proof. Okay? So now if everybody thinks there's 40, 80, $100 million in the sport, you're going to attract bad people, bad actors, right? And it's the breaking up of the band. What happens to every band? Every band gets going, and then somebody from the record companies gets in the middle of them, starts talking to all the artists, and eventually the band breaks up. Oasis is getting back together, right? Two brothers who grew up playing together hate each other. Well, that wasn't by accident. The people get in there and mess them up. Oh, you should really go on your own.
Right.
So that's what happened in terms of that is that, look, I will admit that I know now what I didn't know then, and I thought some of the decisions were right at the time that I now are wrong. Like, at the time, if you would have asked me, should we be on NBC, it's an absolute yes. Now, never. Unless they're going to pay us and treat us like they do the U.S. Open Golf, no. I'd rather be on prime ticket. All right. Yes, they will boost our audience short term, and it'll look like they're doing it right. I know that it's fake. I know what they're doing in a sense, right? So the problem is, look, it's a sunk cost fallacy we talked about earlier.
Right.
The league is clearly not working. They need to stop. All right. It might have worked in the fall too, which is kind of funny, even against football, but. Yeah, it's the same thing with the AVP. At the time, we all right. So we put the rolly signs in, and that way nobody could sit in the stands. And they tried to charge, and it didn't work. They should have instantly stopped and reversed. That's not how human beings are. Okay, so in a sense, like the Olympics could work. Now, here's the problem with the Olympics. Okay, see, the business of sport is a business. And it's a sport. Now, it's separating the illusion from the business. Okay, what is the Olympics to the AVP? The Olympics is a competing business, okay, to the AVP. They're in competition. It is considered the elite event.
Right.
Okay, so they have the best product. So how do you have a competitive product competing with that one? You have to work in certain ways. All right, the AVP does not own the most prestigious event in the sport. They also don't own the most prestigious event in the United States, the Manhattan Beach Open, which is controlled by the city. Okay? From an economic perspective, from a business perspective, they're in a tough position. Imagine they're RC Cola, okay? Don't think about it as a sport. Now, everybody wants to work together, but, that's not how business works. So RC Cola has to compete with Coca-Cola and Pepsi, all right? Think of it in that terms, where you can't necessarily get rid of the illusion of the sport, right? See how you have to bounce back and forth a lot of times between these things when you're sort of understanding it? So, okay, the Olympics comes along, and that's a major competitive threat to the business of the AVP in one certain case, right? They control the Olympic qualification process. Yeah. Right? Which means you have to leave all right? So imagine if the NBA just stopped, all right, every 4 years in the middle of their so LeBron just bails for, 3 weeks every other month to go play in an international basketball in order to qualify for the Olympics. Okay? Like, here's a question for you. Do you want a beach volleyball tour in the United States would be far more effective if you do not allow the athletes to play internationally. Therefore, deny them the ability to go play in the Olympics. Or you tell them you have to choose between one or the other. You cannot run a successful business when you're bouncing back and forth, right? Because you can't look. First of all, the sponsors. You have commitments to the city. You have commitments to the sponsor. You have commitments to television. If the athletes aren't going to show up, understandably because they want to go play in the Olympics, that's not how business works. There's no business. So somebody at Alden Capital, here we go. Here's a question for Alden Capital. Explain to me what business allows their employees to go work for their competitors. Anybody over there? I know you went to a JUCO that has like an NBA G League team associated with it. That's Duke University. Anybody? It's a JUCO with an NBA G League team. Have to get a little levity into this thing. But anyway, somebody explain that to me. Now it's sport, so yeah, and that's the challenge. Okay, so if you were to have a AV or a beach volleyball tour, and you say, look, you have a choice. You can either play on our tour, or you can play in the Olympics on the Olympic tour. And what I believe, so Paolo Louis asked me that. He goes, well, you guys got to play an Olympic qualifier. I'm like, yeah, because we had the best beach volleyball players in the world. Okay, so we didn't have to go qualify. So in that case, if the Olympics wanted the best beach volleyball players in its event, they had to have us.
Right.
Therefore, we could have a qualifier. We didn't have to go play on their tour. You see the point?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of chicken and egg. Do you create a tour in the United States that's so good that you have the best beach volleyball players that then they come to you and say, how do we get you to come play in our events? And no, we're not going to go travel the world, for peanuts to play on these events. I mean, that's a whole nother,
Yeah.
podcast. But here's what everybody says. Oh, Kent, let's all just come together. What did somebody say? We'll have a meeting of the minds. This is big business and this is big dollars. And volleyball TV is a major economic, operation. All right, there are serious people with serious money, and they understand the things I'm saying about it. It is not all like, let's all just kumbaya and come together.
Right.
All right. These are the decisions, and I'm not saying to make anyone. I'm just pulling them all out, pointing them out, so that you all can see them now. All right. That is the problem on the American tour, is that you cannot guarantee the athletes are going to play because they're going to go play in another event. So what do you do? Well, Ken, it's their dream. The dream is always playing. You're going to deny them that? I get it. I'm not saying anything. I'm just pointing it out. What would you do? You play on the number one tour? See, so right, an NBA. So, what is the Olympics not the number one competition in? Basketball, football, baseball, hockey,
right.
Tennis, golf, right?
Golf, yeah.
Are there any others where it's not the
Off
elite?
the top of my head, I can't think of any. Flag football.
Flag football, yeah. How about skiing? I don't know. Is skiing, like, I guess an Olympic gold medal is better than a World Cup event, probably.
I would think so. I would think that skiing and snowboarding would be in figure skating.
Soccer's another one.
Yeah.
Except women's soccer. Women's soccer, it's prestigious, but in men's soccer, it's not.
Yeah.
Cricket. I don't think cricket is going to be the Olympic gold medal. Is not going to be as prominent as whatever the Indian cricket championship is.
But in the NBA, so they
rugby,
let those guys play in the World Cup in the Olympic qualifiers, though.
They don't play in the Olympic qualifiers. Steph Curry doesn't play in the Olympic qualifier.
They didn't. I mean, Anthony Edwards went to wherever you go. Have you watched the Court of Gold documentary? Docuseries?
No,
pretty good.
No. They play, but it's not. But look,
but they wouldn't skip an NBA.
The FIVB knows what it's doing
right.
by forcing athletes to play on its tour to qualify for the Olympics throughout a year. They know what they're doing.
Right.
Okay. The International Basketball Association doesn't have that power, or they would utilize it.
Yeah.
Okay. Soccer specifically wouldn't allow their athletes to play in the Olympics, right? For a long time.
So would you?
Not me. I'm not involved. I'm not a player. I'm not in charge of anything.
Yeah.
Which is why the name calling is really funny. Keep calling me names. I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge. I just have the play here. This is all you need to do to make money.
Yeah. Man,
This
the
was
current
part of the last one when I was doing the bit. That was the best. It was the funniest. It's a great bit. It's a great bit. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'd be interested to see what a lot of the American players would do if they were given the choice. You can only play AVP. If the AVP put on, say, 8 to 12 events a year.
How about $2 million? How about $1 million in prize money?
$1 million in prize money.
15 events.
15 events, like with $1 million each. Or
No, come on.
$1 million. Yeah, well, that's $1 million spread out over 15 events.
I think you can reasonably get to $2 million in a short period of time in prize money, men only.
I think you'd get a lot of the American men would stay. I think a lot of especially the young ones, the American women would go for the Olympics.
I can see that, yeah.
And I think it's just reality. The reality is that the American men are lagging on the world tour, and they'd have a better chance of making a living here, not traveling.
Well, no, Travis. The moment you have a 15-stop tour with prize money, you're going to get phenomenal fucking beach volleyball players.
True.
Because they're going to be competing against each other hard.
Yeah.
And you're going to get they're going to go out and smoke other teams internationally.
And then when
that now you're back to your
And then
choice.
you'd have a problem.
No, yeah, nice try. Nice try. No. Look, what did I tell you? I just want what's best for beach volleyball. You get guys playing those kind of tournaments, and it might not be the guy now. It might not be some of the teams now. It might be players that develop in that way. Being under that forge of fire will sharpen those steel to the point where they will be playing in different types of environments, on different sands, in different scenarios. They will go out and crush the world.
Yeah.
You need competition. Period.
This is why I like you. You check me.
Yeah.
When I'm wrong, you let me know.
Not that you're wrong. I get where you're coming from, right? Right. Again, you can't look at it. The problem is you can't look at it. You can't just put on like old tires on a new car,
Right?
Right. You have to think of the repercussions of what's going to happen when everything. Again, how to get from here to there. Okay, to get from here to there. What's going to happen here is different than just like more. Yeah. So the guys will be better, right? They will be better, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Because again, how many tournaments are there this year?
2.
And all right. So our athletes are now playing how many? Like how many games do you have to play in a FIVB tournament? Like a qualifier?
Qualifier, elites 1
A day?
So an elite qualifier is just a one thing. You win one match, you're in the main draw.
Yeah. How many? Yeah.
And
Give me a main
then
draw. How many?
Main draw, you got 2 pool plays, and then 16, 8, 4, 2. So about 6. If you win, you get 6 matches.
So how many hours of competition are you playing in an FIVB?
Max of 6.
6 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, and how many are they playing in the league?
You got 2. 1 total hour.
Actually, half an hour.
Yeah, because it's like a half-hour spot. Yeah.
It's not even. It's all right. They're not playing the 21.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're telling me like, all right. So imagine if the NBA players all played like half of one quarter, like for 3 weeks. Like those guys, that you get honed through that fire. Yeah. So now our Olympic athletes are not training correctly to go out into the world to do well. And I don't think you could look. I don't even think you can train to be at your best just by playing on the international tour. It's not enough events. They're not online. Okay, we played 25 weekends in a row, and we were trying to kill each other. All right, so I had to go against Whitmarsh every fucking week. All right, I had to go against the Hobbit when I was younger, St. John and Randy. Those guys wanted to rip your head off.
Right.
All right, when we got in the international, it was a joke. We smoked them. Okay, and that's because we were just fighting every weekend, tooth and nail. Like the tournaments in international tournaments were easy. Again, the easiest. All right, I've said this before. The easiest tournament I ever played was the Olympics. The easiest tournament to win, and I almost lost because we almost lost in the match of the century.
Yeah.
The easiest tournament I ever played in was the Olympics because none of the best teams were there. Okay.
Still kind of is.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's what I told Dane Bland before he left for Sydney. I said, look, this is the easiest tournament you'll ever play, and go win it. Or you have to win one game.
Yeah.
Not like 4 or 5 like you would on an AVP.
Right.
And by the way, when I played there, the top 4 international teams choked. All right, they got 7th, 9th, 13th.
Brazilians had a tough time.
2 Brazilians, the Norwegians, and the Argentinians.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah. Man, I miss you.
I miss you too.
Actually,
we miss you. Beach volleyball misses you. Hermosa misses you. The AVP guys, everyone misses you, Trav. That's true.
It's good to be back on the blue couch with you.
But yeah, it is. I'm glad that you guys are having fun and the family's doing well in Florida.
Tell you what, it's been really fun for me to watch your writing and podcasting journey.
Well, you had a lot to do with that. He taught me everything I know about podcasting. Or I'm trying to model it off of you.
It's just right.
You're writing because it's fun.
And I like your method of it sort of percolates throughout the week, and then you just go. So it'll take you, I don't know, what, 30 minutes, an hour to write your Facebook post?
Somewhere in between there, yeah.
But really, it takes you the whole week.
Yeah,
because it's going in here, it's going in here, and then you sit down, and it just comes together.
Yeah, because Tracy's like,
awesome.
I go, did you read my post? She goes, you've been talking about it all week at dinner time. Because again, yeah, exactly. So I have my job, and then I have my hobby. It's kind of a hobby of mine. So
it's a fun hobby.
It's a great hobby.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Tracy and Delaney, we got to get them together for therapy for their writing husbands.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, Tracy wants to see the kids. She loves them.
Yeah, well, they'll be out. We'll be out mid to end of July, 2.5 weeks. So we'll have to get together.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, where can people go to get your documentary?
Vimeo.com.
Okay.
All right, so it's the Kings of Summer documentary, but it's really a video book.
Yeah.
But you have to call it documentary because nobody gets it.
You did it.
I did it. By the way, first time in 26 years anyone's done a beach volleyball documentary of the glory years. I am now, not only am I a published author, thanks to you, and now I'm a documentarian.
Boom. What's
How
next?
about that? Good feature-length motion picture. Side Out 2.
It's coming.
You gonna be in there? You gonna be in it? Monroe Clark, doing the bag, doing the bag.
Hey, that set's legal now.
Yeah, of course. Hey, he was ahead of his time. No, so yeah, exactly. Maybe do something in beach volleyball. People call me. Like I said, they call me all the time, and I go, "You need this and need this," and something might hit.
Yeah.
By the way, a lot of the things I talk about, I say a lot of things, and they happen. So I will. What you're seeing happening, I know I'm influencing because that's my point. I'm trying to. So yes, when people pop up and have tournaments and offer prize money and are starting to do it, these things are percolating. I'm like, glad to hear people are listening.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily have to do it. Other people can do it. And I hope I'm motivating them. So yeah.
I think you are. I think it's been fun to see your audience grow. Like the engagement you get on your posts it's cool. It's fun to watch.
It's kind of it's
a fun thing.
It is fun. It is fun. Yeah, to hit the numbers, see the numbers.
Yeah. Well, keep on keeping on, brother.
Will do, and you too. We're glad to have you here for the brief time we have.
Good to be back. Yeah, and I'll see you in a month.
All right, man.
All right.